I think today's horror movie might just be one of the worst I've ever seen. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever watched a horror movie and immediately become concerned over whether or not this thing was actually supposed to be taken seriously? Like some executive has sat down one day in a boardroom and said, hey, let's take this cult horror icon from the 1980s, let's strip out all the tension, sanitize the blood, get rid of the kills, give the villain the personality of a wet paper towel, and throw in some drama that would be equivalent to a CW show instead? No? That's funny, because that's exactly how I feel about 2008's Prom Night. Now I do want to be fair, the original Prom Night isn't exactly a classic either. It's campy, it's soaked in this weird disco aesthetic, and half of the movie feels as though it's just going through the motions at times. But at least it had something. It had an atmosphere, it had Jamie Lee Curtis, and it had the decency to be a little spooky. This pile of shite, on the other hand, is so bad that it feels as though it's a TV movie that has wandered into the horror category. And trust me, we're going to explore all of it. This thing is a special kind of bad. It's not the fun type of bad that still makes it entertaining to watch, it's just incredibly boring and ridiculous at the same time. Before we get into it though, this is a new style of content yet again, so if you do want to see more like it, then leave a like and comment on the video. If we get 8 likes on this one, I'll take that as a positive sign that you guys want more like this, and I will happily supply you with that. So grab the prom gear, spike your punch with something a little stronger to help you get through this, and let's walk through one of the most egregiously dull slasher remakes ever made. I'm Jordan, welcome to the Media13 Cinema Club, and this is Prom Night. We begin the movie with a flashback, and I don't know about you people, but I personally love an opening scene flashback. It can often be responsible for delivering that opening brutal wound of trauma that shows why we're rooting for the characters in this film. What could possibly go wrong here? This is off to a fantastic start. Donna, our protagonist, enters her home to find a tragic and traumatic event, discovering the mutilated corpses of her little brother and her dad. You know, it's got me. I'm seated. My landlord tried to evict me 2 months ago, but I just can't leave because of how seated I am. She heads upstairs before hiding under the bed where she hears oncoming footsteps. Now, while she's under the bed, one thing leads to another, and the scene advances onto her witnessing her mother being stabbed to death, which obviously is a tragic thing to happen to anyone. And I'm sure that if this scene was even done remotely well, I could have felt something here. The culprit is Richard Fenton, a high school teacher who had become obsessed with Donna, and rather than be a creep in silence, he decided to go fully demented and, you know, murder the entire family. The normal thing to do. That's actually how I met my girlfriend. That's a lie, I didn't do that. I feel like I need to clarify that now just to be on the safe side. This entire opening feels so disingenuous, and it's really difficult to feel a whole lot for Donna. When she arrives, her dad and brother are already dead, and for the majority of her mother's death, we're stuck watching some pretty awkward face acting from an actress that probably wouldn't feel too out of place in a weird Netflix drama. I don't want to get too dark here, but it's almost a little funny how careless the whole thing is. It's like it doesn't even want to engage us. There's no emotional payoff, it's just confusing. The film clearly doesn't want to get its hands dirty, so it leaves any messiness off screen and allows the audience to pitch in the blanks if they want. But realistically guys, I do actually get it. You know, nothing screams horror like implied murder and awkward facial acting. We don't really know how this interaction ends because it turns out to just be Donna reliving these events. But I can only assume that the police arrived and he just sort of gave up. Yes, officer, I did it. I killed this high schooler's entire family because she wouldn't sleep with me. Take me away. Should we cut that? Nah, no one's going to take that out of context. But that's all we actually get for an opening scene. It's like we're thrown into this backstory and expected just to feel bad for Donna, and it doesn't work. It's insanely obvious that there was no one here committed to making this opening scary or tense. It's a hollow moment that sets up Donna's life has been ruined, but it just comes across like a desperate trauma plea for the movie to pretend it knows what a slasher movie actually is. So after this, we jump ahead 3 years to the present day. Donna, now living with her aunt and uncle, lives what seems to be a pretty good life, all things considered. She's got the perfect generic looking boyfriend, and I say this as the pinnacle of beauty standards with my skincare that rivals someone with good skincare. She also has a close group of friends that are about as clueless as everything else going on here. Each of them only really exists to be plot fodder, and the only thing they add are boyfriends who have no personality whatsoever. This isn't also something I want to directly label as a criticism of this movie, because it was honestly more of an entertaining thing to point out, but it is so aggressively 2000s at times that it actually hurts. As we get further into exploring the new normal of Donna's life, we're forced to sit through some really obnoxious teen drama. That just turns out to be the consistent tone throughout Prom Night. If it does anything right, it's consistently keeping this level of disassociation that could have made the movie funny if it wasn't so obnoxiously dull and instead just leaned into that. The movie does its best to downplay any sense of trauma that drives these characters. Yep, I understand your entire family was murdered by a man that you've just found out is on the list. I can understand that would be a pretty traumatic event. Did you know prom night's tonight though? To an extent I am kidding, but this is the movie. There's a complete lack of any substantial emotion, so severe that sometimes you genuinely have to wonder if it's satire or parody in some way. Like, it does get to a point where you do have to wonder, the filmmakers had to be aware of what they were doing. But after all of the teen drama stuff, we arrive at the main event of the movie. Prom night, baby! You'd be forgiven if you expected that this is where the movie gets good, because what we get instead is actually 40 minutes of nothingness that's wrapped in a shiny glamorous bow. The prom is being held at a luxury hotel, not quite the hotel lobby I was stuck with at mine, and we get the scenes of the kids checking in, getting ready in their rooms, and doing absolutely nothing. You're catching on. Painfully long scenes of teenagers idling around the hotel. It's about as thrilling to watch as a room full of mannequins attempting to dance. Now at this point, you might be wondering where Richard Fenton is, because that man has escaped and he's not really been seen yet apart from a few Halloween-esque shots. You see that? You see what I did there? That's right, I know horror. My horror movie's got horror movie references in it. You'd think a man like this would keep himself hidden. He is at large right now, and you'd think, at the very, very least, he would not be in a hotel lobby hanging out with teenagers. This is absolutely one of the biggest issues that this film has, and if we try to look at it seriously for just a second, because I don't want to do it for most of the time, Fenton just isn't scary, like at all. He goes around totally unnoticed with zero urgency. I get that they're trying to play off the fact that he's just a chill dude, but it doesn't work, like at all. It just doesn't. He manages to slip under the radar and get a key card with pretty much no questions asked, and no one actually seems to care. I know that I make exceptions for shitty decisions in horror movies. I mean, hell, last year I posted a video defending The Strangers Chapter 1. But this film is full of choices that take it to a whole new low that I just cannot defend. Every kill in the movie is either largely off screen or it's the exact same concept over and over again. There's not a single ounce of creativity here. I saw more creativity in my media studies group when we were making a film trailer, and the pinnacle of that was someone being thrown against a toilet stall door. Alright, look, this is a slasher movie, at least last time I checked. And in slasher movies, we should be seeing kills that are at the very least gruesome, but if not, at least fun. But not here. Here, the deaths are so forgettable that as writing this video, I had to keep going back to Wikipedia to double check how each character was killed, and I only had watched it 20 minutes prior. I will admit that the movie does try to give Lisa her own horror sequence, but even then, it just fucking sucks. The entire thing just reeks of minimal effort, and bear in mind we are talking about the individual scene here, not the entire movie. I understand how you could make that mistake though. There's barely any blood, there's no suspense, there's no build-up, it's just endless stretches of boring bullshit where characters wander around doing things that just don't matter. All the while Fenton lurks in the dark like I do if I take a few steps back in this setup. Honestly, if this movie is trying to make us feel as though something is at stake here, they have failed in pretty much every regard. There is a consistent feeling of frustration that just drives me fucking insane. It's trying to tell you that you should care. I mean, look at the poor girl. Her parents are fucking dead. I do wish there was more talking about before we get to the final act, but there genuinely isn't. I haven't even mentioned until now, Idris Elba's in this fucking movie, but he's so unintegral that there just hasn't been a reason to mention that aspect of the plot until now. So, the final act, the setup, the dull moments, all that tension that definitely exists, this is where it gets good, right? No. It's more like the moment where the movie just completely runs out of steam and shits itself. So after nothing happens, we get to the third act, which means we can finally close out this movie and I can go on with my day. Until now, the Detective Wynn story has been edging along slowly, culminating in the discovery of a dead hotel staff member in the boot of a car found nearby. The hotel is suddenly thrown into full-on panic mode as it's realised that Richard is very likely there. Storming the hotel room, Wynn then finds a murdered housekeeper. I'm realising we did see this happen earlier, but if I'm being completely honest, I forgot that it was relevant until now. With that, the hotel's put under an evacuation notice, but Donna, because reasons, decides she needs to go back into the hotel because she forgot something that belongs to her mother. And if you could believe me, I know this movie has been incredibly logical so far, so nothing would surprise you at all at this point. Richard Fenton is in there, waiting for her. She walks in and he's already there, appearing like a terrible magician, revealing himself from behind a curtain. This is probably the only other time this movie tries any sort of real slasher tradition, and I do genuinely mean it when I say that if these characters had the slightest amount of substance, I may have cared about this moment, because it's the one fucking time that I think there's something there. There's somewhat of a struggle, and Donna does manage to escape, running down the hallway as the cops swarm in. Fenton is not caught because, yet again, he has vanished. They believe he's gone. Donna is safe. All is well. Movie over? I hope so. But then you look at the time and you realise there's still 20 minutes of movie left. Fuck! Later that night, Donna is now back at home with her aunt and uncle, probably glad she can now sleep without fearing a grown man being in her closet. Or so she thought. After some weird nightmare sequence where... Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I can't even really be bothered breaking it down anymore. Donna returns to bed and finds that her boyfriend is lying still. A little too still. She pulls back the duvet and realises that, yep, this basic bitch is dead, because why wouldn't he be? Just end the fucking movie. And Fenton, who has developed the teleportation skills of Jason Voorhees, is right behind you. He attacks her again, and this would have been tense if not for how exhausting this entire movie has been until now. Donna tried to hide in the closet, only to be found by him. He's ready to kill her, ready to finish what he started, before shebang! Detective Wynn is stood there, having come to the fucking rescue, and puts a bullet or two in Fenton. There's no twist, there's no turn, and at long last, Richard Fenton is dead. And thank fucking God for that. Donna breaks down, the music swells, and we roll on credits for what might actually be one of the worst horror films I have ever seen. Join me next week where we look at the Nah, there's no sequel. I'm so happy. And that, everyone, is Prom Night, a movie so dull and so devoid of life that it pretty much invented its own subgenre in horror, that being the non-slasher slasher movie. It is a movie that, in my eyes, is so sleep-inducing that it's as if the filmmakers watched every single horror movie in existence and rolled all of the bad aspects into one. Prom Night is the horror equivalent to a participation trophy. It exists, it definitely does that, I can verify it. It just about checks all of the boxes without ever bothering to take a risk or a leap. It's not scary, it's not fun, it is genuinely just there. Inoffensive, forgettable, and utterly, undoubtedly, lifeless. But if you've made it this far, then congrats, you've survived the disaster alongside me, and for that, you get a... I was going to fist bump there, but that's like the PewDiePie thing. You get a high five! And if you ask me, I think you surviving this long deserves a little like on the video. And subscribe too. If you had to choose either of those, then let me know what one you got in the comments. Any help to get me closer to the monetization mark on this channel is going to help me pay for the therapy that I need to get over the fact that I watched this movie 4 times while writing this video. Again, leave a comment if you did enjoy this style of video and let me know what other films you'd like me to watch in the future. It is a fun little change. It's not going to be the main thing going forward. I could see me maybe doing one of these a month at most. Let me know what you want us to watch next. I've been Jordan, this is the Media13 Cinema Club, and I'll see you all next time.